Hey, what's going on, everybody? Robert Marzullo here with Ram Studio Comics, and doing another video today for you. And this one is actually just practice, not a specific thing like drawing perspective or buildings or anatomy or any of that. Just basically how I would go about starting up my warm-ups. Generally, when I warm up for drawing comics, I do a few poses. Maybe some tougher foreshortening angles that I'm working on getting right, so that when I go to try something hard inside the page that day, it might seem a little bit easier if I start off with just one of those trickier poses or something. So all I basically do is I just start scribbling like I'm doing now, and just kind of warm up. Just like if you were playing sports, you'd run around, stretch, or do whatever. Kind of do the same thing for comics, but I just warm up with get my get my drawing hand going. So, and I figured I would just show you that sometimes when I'm drawing this stuff, I'm not you know going for anything in particular. I think that gets lost in the shuffle. When you're explaining all these different techniques and what you do, and um, people forget that hey, an everyday task of an artist is just to sit there and scribble. I mean, I can be in a restaurant with my girlfriend, and I'm drawing on the back of you know uh, the placemats and stuff, and or I could be hanging out with my buddies, and at the local pub or whatever, and I'm drawing on the napkins or whatever. So um, I doodle on pretty much everything. I'm always scribbling. It's one of the things, like I think a lot of the people that grew up around me or saw me grow up or whatever always knew I wasn't an artist, or I don't even want to say was going to be an artist, because I was always drawing ever since I can remember. So essentially, I was always an artist. But um, but yeah, so when I'm doing all these videos and we're talking about all this stuff, we don't really talk about the intensity at which you should draw, the level of intensity at which you should draw, and part of that is drawing every day religiously. I actually look at it like a workout routine. I actually draw bare minimal 5 hours a day, bare minimal. That's almost the days I take off, really. But if I'm really trying to take a break and spend time with the family, then I will only draw. I might take one full day off out of the week, but it's rare. Just because I'm so scared that if I don't put my time in, I won't grow as an artist. So, but something compels me to draw regardless, and I basically make sure that I at least put in, 5 hours a day average, and a lot of days it's 10 hours. So, I'm not saying you have to be as dedicated as I am. That's up to you. Um, I like to get really involved in what I do, because I'm a perfectionist. I want to just really get good at what I do and master my craft, or why am I doing it, basically. Um, but again, what we don't talk about is that we are typically sketching just everything, anything under the sun. Like my sketchbooks are basically like what I'm showing you here, where I just start doodling a pose, or um, maybe it's a certain character, and I'm not gonna do any characters here, because I can't do that on my channel and get away with it or whatever. So I'm just basically drawing just random stuff, you know. But it's stuff like this that makes you better. So I'll doodle something like that, maybe I get a pose knocked out. I'll throw that off to the side of my sketch pad, and maybe that'll jog an idea, maybe it won't, and then I'll go to something else. And then maybe next I want to do, let me try. Uh, if you guys have looked at any of my other videos, my book Blackstone Eternal is a science fiction superhero. So I have to do a lot of like techie sci-fi, and it's based in the future too. So I have to do a lot of techie sci-fi, cool, little gizmo, doohickey, gadget type things. So a lot of times I'll do that in my sketchbook stuff like this. I'll just kind of, like I don't know what this is going to be. I just kind of did an opening to a what I kind of envisioned to be a face mask of some kind. And then from there, I might say, you know what would be cool up here is a bunch of little wires and, you know, wires and wires. I don't know what else to say there, but I was trying to make it sound like there's more than just wires up here, but, so whatever. Like a bunch of little wires up there that maybe go down and connect to the back of the gadget or the mech warrior, whatever this thing is going to be here. And it's pretty bad, like, but I'll be honest, half the time when I'm drawing stuff like this, it's very organic. I don't, particularly know exactly what I'm drawing. Like, this is obviously real time. I'm talking to you as I'm doing it. I have no precognitive idea of what I'm doing. I'm just kind of having fun with it. And I love doing that because sometimes you get some of your best work, or some of your best ideas, I should say. I don't want to say your best work, because your best work comes when it's planned and you do stages, and even collaboration with other artists is going to yield, in my opinion, your best work. But as far as your best ideas, that comes off the cuff. That's why, when people say, "Hey, let's spitball some ideas," that's pretty much what they're saying. That you're just basically gonna wing it, and something's gonna come out of the mix, and it's gonna be the next thing since sliced bread. So, but that's how it happens. So basically, this is some kind of mech warrior thingy majig, and I'm having a hard time figuring out what I want to do to connect this down to the side. So it works when you can't figure something out. Segments. Something about just throwing segmented pieces in. Well, at least when you're doing techie stuff, is so easy to do. Then from here, I'll just do some other segments in the other direction. And the other thing is, if you can't figure out a direction to head with something, just kind of throw in some shapes. So like I'll take this, obviously that looks kind of like shoulders. I'll bring that down into what would be, kind of a chest piece. And let's see, those shoulders look too small for this character. And the other thing I'm about to show you too is, if something isn't flowing or gelling right, to pitch it. Not to waste an absorbent amount of time, and don't fight the process. Like, if it's not coming out and just flowing, then walk away from it. So what I'll do here is I'll throw in a couple more little pieces, and if I'm not digging this, I'm gonna throw it away. I think it's decently cool for now. I'm just not feeling it as far as it being some great great thing worth investing too much time into. Yeah, it's not bad. It's just not great. Kind of thought it was heading in a better direction, but then I might even add like a little bit of outlining shapes to where the shading's going to go. A lot of times I'll just kind of scribble that in, because until I get to the more finished rendering of it, like I said before, I don't want to drop too much time into it. Just quick sketches here to get ideas down. That's the purpose of it. That's why sketchbooks are so great to I'll get that on a separate layer. Grab that, do a little Control X, Control V to paste it on its own layer. Control D is deselect, Control T is resize, and that's almost the same in any software. So this isn't the purpose to teach you shortcut commands, but I figured I'd just talk about that as I was doing it. Enter, releases the selection. All right, size that down a little bit more. All right, and just for the sake of showing you how ideas work off the fly, just by setting that next to that character, you know what it made me think of? That maybe that character gets into that suit and becomes somebody else when he's in that suit. You know, which there's tons of characters like that, so I'm not gonna say that's some great idea. I'm just telling you that just by placing that next to him, it made me think, uh, concept-wise of something like that. So that's how sketches I believe work. So all right, so let's see what's something else I might draw. Now, what I'm trying to convey here is, like I said, how I just would doodle and sketch all kinds of things. I might even be sitting there and I'm like, oh, I need to really get better at my building layouts or something, right? So I might even just sit there and sketch a quick 1 point perspective. Because this is all just doodling. It's all just playing around, getting better at stuff, practicing. And like I said, I just wanted to speak about that because so many people talk about, how to draw, you know, bulging muscles, how to draw hot chicks, and how to draw blah, blah, blah. But they don't talk about, you know, the fact that, every one of us artists that are trying to do this for a living do this day in and day out. We draw everything under the sun. It's not just you know, any one thing or any couple things. I mean, when you go to illustrate books, you have to draw a little bit of everything. So it's important that you sketch like this all the time. It's what helps you figure stuff out. Like, like I'm looking at this right now. I'm like, oh well, that perspective, those windows are way off. So I need to, draw that part better. But the other thing to keep in mind is when you are rough sketching this, um, to do just that, keep it rough. For instance, one of the things I need to get better at is buildings. I, I'm not a big, background junkie. Like I don't really like doing buildings and backgrounds. You know, I'll do them, but it's in all honesty, it's more like the work part of it for me. Um, I can draw characters all day long, and I just enjoy that, which is probably why I should be more into, you know, conceptual game design for characters and not, like I think I want to say in that profession they generally have a background artist and, then you have more of a character designer, and that would be more up my alley because I just like drawing characters, faces, uh, I even do a little bit better with drawing like alien structures than traditional, like say, New York City buildings or something. But that's also another reason why I need to do more what I'm doing right here, is where I practice that more because it's not my strong suit. You're not always going to get paid to draw what you enjoy drawing. You're going to have to, be able to draw whatever they, whoever's paying the bill, whatever they want you to draw. So you got to practice it all. And probably the best thing to do, which I didn't start doing at first here, is draw in all your kind of your block shapes first. Get that all into perspective so it helps you figure out the scene a little better. And then come in and fill in your detail. Because basically, if you don't block in your scene first, say I fully detailed this building like I started to do, but then I go to block in the scene and I realize, wait a second, that's not even the perspective that I want. This scene needed cars coming down the road, and that's not going to work with that perspective. And bam, I just wasted all that time in that building. But again, this is a sketch, so there's a little more leeway here. It's not like I'm working out an actual scene here, but it's also good to build in good habits, not bad habits. So you want to make sure that you know, do things in the right order so that when you do go to execute this for a scene, it comes out just naturally in the correct manner. See, and that's about it for the cars. Like, I'll just throw in those little blocks there, but then on my next layer and my next layer, I'll refine it and make it nicer, and you know, and then maybe sometimes back here I'll do like another little city line. Oh, that was ugly. Hold on. You know, maybe like the bigger buildings. If it's a big city where there's going to be buildings everywhere, it's like that. And as quickly as that, you know, you can start building a relatively simple perspective, and you know, a 1 point perspective. And again, like I said, it's one of those things where I have to practice that because it's not my strong suit. You know, like I should be doing like little people in here. Okay, so there's a little scene. And I forgot to put that on another layer again. Which it doesn't really matter. The only reason I'm doing that is so that I can keep adding stuff to this page. I can scale these down, especially if it's something that I, you know, like that. You know, that again, just practice. I really didn't need to draw that, but all right, add a layer. Even though I thought I did that each time. Okay, now another thing I like to practice is profiles. They're just fun to draw, and I want to get them just right. So anything that you want to get really good at, you should probably do it a little bit each day. Now you'll notice on that one I didn't do any pre-sketch lines. I generally would. Sometimes if I go to do it the way I just showed you and it doesn't come out right, then I will go back and do my pre-sketch lines. But I do profiles quite a bit, so I can usually draw them just, you know, right out of the noggin. But again, if I wasn't feeling like it was coming out right, that's when I just go back to my initial sketch lines, and it helps me, you know, get that just the way that I want it. Profiles are pretty easy. Something about it, I think, just because you know, there's not so much perspective drawing going on there, so it's real easy to get it right. And let's make her science fiction based. We'll give her some pointed ears. And hair is always good to practice every day because it's tricky. And when you find somebody that does hair really well, it stands out. So it's good to practice. I want to get it to where I can just draw hair really well. Good thing to remember, and I've done videos on this, is to think of it like flowing ribbons, which I didn't invent that. I picked that up from a few other artists that I would watch and, you know, pick up on how they did it. But flowing ribbons, and then also look at it like there's multiple shapes overlaid and inlaid together. So interweaving flowing ribbons, if that makes any sense to you. And then the other thing I've noticed is try to minimize the area where the hair converges into the part. Minimize the way in which you see that. in fact, you barely would even see it unless you're at a perspective as more of a top view from the character. And I'll show you what I mean here in a second after I get through these lines down. You don't always do these little flips and flicks of the hair or whatever. Okay, so like that. Don't forget to do your shadows. And another good way to bring out the eyes is nice thick eyelashes, just to basically trace the eye with a nice bold set of eyelashes, and you'll always get kind of more cooler feminine eyes that way. Same thing if you want the lips to really stand out. I kind of fill them in. I know a lot of artists stay away from that because well, put it this way, if you're working with color comics, then you don't have to fill them in. I traditionally work with black and white comics at this point with just a color cover, so I'll blacken in the lips for more impact. Alright, so okay, so now that part I was telling you about, uh, you just basically want to hint to it, have the hair overlapping and connecting to the part, and just stay away from doing this. Say this is the top of the head, and here's the part. You see a lot of people do that right there. This is crudely drawn, but I'm just trying to convey it, move on. Right, so there's the hair. And they do this kind of effect, and it looks very, uh, looks like the top of a plant, you know, the sprout of the plant or whatever. So at any rate, you just want to stay away from that. You basically just show a little bit of it and don't over detail it because it comes out very not nice. So even though I'm still not digging the way I drew it right there even. So, but I think that's more the style of the hair. The way I did it, I probably should have changed the shape of the head a little bit. Yeah, that's what it is. She needs more of a slender. I've got the head kind of protruding too far up right here. So sometimes it's good to kind of carve out the shape too. If you're looking for a certain shape that looks more attractive, you can do that by carving out the shape, and then again with the next layers I could refine it and get it just the way I want. But again, this is just sketching, so I'm going to go ahead and let it go with that and move on. You know, the other part of sketching to get the ideas down and to keep everything very fluid and organic in nature is to do it fast. You know, you don't want to spend too much time on it, and then it takes away from the very fluid energy of it. To get it down fast and just move on to the next idea, because you're basically just trying to get your idea, or I'm sorry, your brain to really push out these ideas, and then when you go to draw on your work, it just comes out kind of more natural because you've warmed up. So you know, basically. All right. So what else? What else? What else? A lot of times too, I'll practice. Oh, you know what? I'll say I'll practice facial parts, but another good thing to practice that I really want to get good at is hands. So I'll just draw like a hand or two and call it good. Hands are just always, you'll never stop if you're serious about doing comics and about illustration work in general, you will never stop getting better, trying to get better at hands. Hands are just one of those things where they're just there's so many hand poses and so many gestures to a hand, um, that you will just never stop getting better at them. If you like doing, pretty cool, detailed hands. Some people like to do a very simplistic hand and they're good with that. Um, I don't mind. I mean, if a hand's done well, simplistic is just as good as ultra detailed. But um, I want to eventually get it to where the hands in my comic drawing are just very elaborate, very detailed, and well drawn. Because to me, there's so much expression in the hands, and it's so important when you're trying to convey information and emotion in comics. Hands are an integral part of that. So it's good to have just an arsenal of hand poses. You'll notice with the ones I draw, I typically do a wedge shape like this, which is very easy for me to put down very fast. And then from there, I go to the hard part, which to me the hard part is the fingers, right? And definitely perspective or foreshortening with that. So then I'll start with, say, the index finger, and I'll flesh out the direction and the shape of that first finger, right, like that. And now that I have that one, that's like kind of my basis. Generally, the thumb's pretty easy. Watch, I'll say that and I'm going to mess the thumb up or something. Um, but then once you have the beginning of that, then you can kind of figure out where the rest might go. So, uh, a good thing to always keep in mind with hands is the fact that there is a good amount of spacing from finger to finger. Um, I see a lot of hands where they kind of forget that, or they don't draw that in really well, um, and it kind of ruins the look of the hand. And there's also a relationship between these two fingers. When I say relationship, like meaning they're always kind of heading in the same direction. You can kind of feel it when you wiggle your fingers around that the tendon's tighter between those two than the rest. And then the pinky just kind of does his own thing back here, you know, like that. Same thing with the thumb. And actually, there is a bit of a symmetry or relationship with the pinky and the thumb too. So you'll notice if you bring them together, they actually line up really well. So, which, if you're trying to get better at hands, and actually now that I look at that and I put the forearm in there, the fingers actually look a bit stubby on that. But again, just a sketch, just practice, so I'll let it fly. I wouldn't let that pass, and the actual comic book, I'd probably redraw that a few times. But in this situation, I'll let that go. But yeah, if you're trying to get better at hands, there's plenty of books out there and reference. Um, DeviantArt's even a great resource. I've been meaning to actually post a hands tutorial, but also a one of those sheets where you just do, like, say 20 different hand poses, and you can download that from that site. There's a lot of good artists on there that post things like that, so be sure to check that out. And you can go to my DeviantArt and find all kinds of different stuff like that too. Um, Mine are more in the way of pinups, but at the same time, I do have a few on there that show like various poses and things like that. Okay, so what's another good hand pose? I guess like this. Again, that wedge shape, which this is a flat face view of the palm. And here I'll show the separation I was talking about. You can almost draw that in first if you wanted to. Make sure that you don't, you remember to put the spaces in between the fingers like that. And start with the index and the thumb again. Like that. I'm trying to basically draw like more of a claw look, like, if you're clenching your hand up like I can't think of what else to call it but a claw. So if if you're doing I don't know, a vampire, they had pointed fingers at the end, it looked like that. Which I don't even know that you would use that hand pose. So let me try a different one other than that. Sorry, but hey, gotta practice everything. So a more typical hand pose. Let me think here. Again, the wedge shape, the thumb opening, so like kind of like a mitt at first. See, that's just real easy to draw. Like that's why I do this technique, because it's actually a very easy way to do hands. And then the pointer finger. Remember, there's always 3 little segments to it, like that. And again, the pinky kind of falls off and does its own thing, just like that. So that'd just be kind of an angled, not a point, but like I could picture the superhero or person conveying a message, and their arm would be back like this. They're kind of just reaching out into the distance for whatever reason. So just little things like that that you can sketch and practice on, that come in handy. Get it? Handy? Oh, sorry. My attempt at humor. Come in handy later when you're trying to draw this stuff. So that's about it. I'll let you guys get back onto your lives there. I just wanted to show you a few of my sketches. So this would be like something you'd see in my stacks and stacks of sketchbooks. When I'm drawing at comic conventions, or just scribbling here on the computer to practice things. This is what I'd be doing, and it just made me think about it, because I've been doing all these videos trying to explain how to draw hair, how to draw muscles, how to draw. I thought, you know what, the one thing I've never talked about with everybody on here is what we do as artists to get better on a daily basis. I mean, we just sit around and scribble whatever comes to mind. Whether it be pieces of, like right here, pieces of a face, a smile. Uh, all those things are important to just practice, because in comics you're going to be drawing so many different things. You're going to be drawing so many different peoples, characters, settings. So you really have to just practice everything under the sun. And what better way to do that than to just sit around and scribble in your notepad and on the back of your textbook that you should probably be reading. So at any rate, thanks for watching, thanks for tuning in, and please subscribe, please share the videos, and please hit that little like button so I can keep bringing these to you. And more importantly, comment and let me know what you would like to see, so I know what to bring you in the future. It really does help me out, guys. So I want to make sure that these videos get better and better for you, that my channel continues to grow, and that I'm bringing you guys the stuff that you want to see and hear. So thanks very much for watching. Keep drawing, keep having fun. Take care.